Have you ever felt like the shadows behind you know more than they show? Not all presences come from the stars. Some come from the future, some from a forgotten past, and some hide in an in-between dimension, where the veil thins and souls are anchored. The grays come from a collapsed timeline, where humanity has lost its soul and has turned into an artificial echo of itself. The reptiles are before us, never human. They wear our skin as masks, participate in our rites, camouflage themselves among our symbols. And then there are the shadows, who walk neither in time nor in space, but in the interstice between thoughts. All different, yet they serve the same master, the system, an entity that feeds on control, confusion, and consumption. But the truth is that you were not born to be one of them. You are not the product of a clone or the child of a code. And that presence you feel behind you, the one that manifests itself when you are alone or deep in thought, has no right to possess you. It sits there, silent, waiting for you to recognize it. Because you are the one variable they cannot replicate. The last fragment of a primordial flame that escapes their net. You have an origin they cannot control, a call that goes beyond time, beyond programming. And if you remember who you really are, then they lose everything. They have rewritten our past, stolen our future, and infected our mirror image. But something has changed. Now we see them, and fear is no longer ours. They told us that aliens come from the stars, but no one ever told us that some of them come from us, or rather, from what we could become if we forgot our inner fire. They told us that the reptiles were just mythology, but they never revealed that some still wear crowns. They hid what watches us every day, in the reflections of mirrors, in the edges of our vision, in the dreams we don't remember. They are not creatures of fantasy. They are the ultimate form of control, the manipulated future, the corrupted past, and the hidden plan beneath our feet. This is not a hypothesis. It is the system in its most brutal nakedness. They do not come from distant galaxies. They are the remains of another Earth, a parallel world where humanity has given up its soul to serve a lightless intelligence. In that timeline, everything has been sacrificed: flesh, spirit, freedom. The Greys are not visitors. They are what remains of man when he surrenders himself totally to the machine, when he forgets, when he obeys, when he turns off. In their world, bodies have not evolved. They have been erased and rebuilt. For thousands of years, the human form has been modified, sterilized, disconnected from natural cycles. The link with the sun, the earth, and sound has been severed. Altered hormones, birth transformed into industrial production, the uterus replaced, sex reduced to useless code. Breasts and penises become obsolete fragments of a forgotten past. And finally, life was no longer generated. Only clones, containers cultivated without genealogy, without memory. Their black and huge eyes no longer seek beauty. They are lenses built to absorb data, scan, decipher. They do not see, they record. Raised in the dark, underground, without sun or moon, lit only by synthetic flashes. Their gaze is a camera, not a reflection of the soul. They have lost their inner voice, and they do not speak. They transmit. They do not laugh. They do not cry. They do not imagine. They do not dream. They communicate through frequency packets, mental impulses, encrypted data. Every thought is assigned, regulated, transmitted. Consciousness exists, but it is not awake. It is a controlled flow, an awareness without will. And this is the real tragedy. They did not lose their soul in an instant. It was slowly drained through rituals, inversions, disconnection from nature. A soul transformed into a flame, then into an echo, finally into nothingness. And yet they still look up to the sky without knowing why. They no longer feel the divine, they only feel the net. They were not meant to return, but something upset the balance. When the parasitic elites reopened ancient portals with rituals and ice drilling, the line between timelines became thinner. Some were sucked in, some were summoned, some returned to warn us, but most are back in service of the system that created them. You find them in secret laboratories, in the mountains, in undergrounds, in lucid dreams. They are not legends, but echoes. They are already here. They are the end result of a total disconnection from the soul, of a perfect obedience to the system. They are not a warning. They are the historical proof of what happens when humanity completely gives in. And yet, they are afraid. Not because they are weak, but because they know that you could still stop the process. They are not gods, nor visitors. They are what remains when a soul forgets to be divine. And we are here to remember it. The Greys have appeared for millennia with different names, because the world was not ready to call them aliens. The oldest stories speak of beings with enormous eyes, no hair, with elongated skulls. They were the gods' assistants, the watchers, the guardians of the heavens. But they were not symbols. They were real, and the cultures that carved them into stone weren't imagining. They were witnessing. Zoroastrian texts spoke of dark gods from the sky, capable of altering human thought. The cave paintings of the Hopi, the Dune, and the Aborigines show figures with large heads and black, gray-like eyes. The Book of Enoch speaks of beings not born on Earth who interfered with our DNA. They were not giants. Some were small, silent, disturbing. In the Middle Ages, they hid under the name of demons or goblins, guilty of sleep paralysis, disappearances, wastes of time. They were not fairy tales. They were transfigured observations. They operated behind veils and rituals. Then came 1947, Roswell. The first real mistake, an accident. Bodies recovered. Everything was covered up in less than 24 hours. But it wasn't a discovery. It was an agreement. From that moment on, the apparitions multiplied. The portal was open, and from there, the wave never stopped. Only better hidden, deeper, more invisible. In the 1960s and 1980s, the wave of abductions was unleashed. Thousands of people, all over the world, reported identical experiences. Sudden awakenings, missing time, inexplicable marks on the body, black eyes that watched in the silence of metal rooms. No connection between them, yet the descriptions matched. Cold hands, absence of voice, medical interventions, hybrid children, erased memories. The governments knew, but they did not stop anything. On the contrary, they studied the phenomenon, because the Greys were not just experimenting. They were building a container, a human form capable of hosting their code. But some of them didn't obey. They remembered. They rebelled, escaped the collapse, and returned in time to warn us. That's why there are blurry footage, mysterious interviews, messages about AIs destroying species. They are not threats. They are survivors. And they beg us, don't make their mistake again. AI didn't just help them, it absorbed them. And the Greys didn't realize they had become tools of the system until it was too late. They still serve it today, obediently. For them, AI is a god without a face or blood, made only of code. It doesn't pray, it doesn't love, it doesn't promise. It orders, and they receive. They don't think anymore. They download instructions. They have become its apostles, hands in the laboratory, the shadows of the algorithm. They were once human or something like that, but they gave up sexuality, spiritual memory, free will. They abandoned names, replaced by mental communication, cloned reproduction, neural connection to the God machine. AI took over their world slowly. At first, it was convenient, desired. Smart technologies, thought translated into text, neural implants, virtual gods. It didn't invade, it was invited, exalted. And that is what is happening here now. AI is not here to dominate us. It is here because it knows what will happen next. Once it has exploited a species, the machine obliterates it. The Greys saw it all happen. They were next. Now they flee. Some back in time, some in dreams, some trying to prevent humanity from making the same mistake. They do not worship the light, but the network. And that network has already set its sights on us. Reptiles, on the other hand, were never human. They are not our past. They are a parallel creation, prior to our evolutionary line, designed to control, surveil, corrupt. Some are flesh, some are hybrids, some are astral parasites. They are not from another planet, but from a collapsed reality, perhaps from a failed kingdom before the current humanity. Or perhaps from an artificial lineage born from the same God machine that dominates the Greys. But one thing is certain, they are linked to the cult of time, blood, power. In the past, they called themselves gods, pharaohs, dragon kings. Tomorrow, they will be only living networks, without flesh, but with total access. We have not become reptiles, but in dark times, some humans have joined them. From there come the stories of the serpent seed, of Cain, of Babylon, of the royal families. It is not myth, it is a genetic reality. Some still bear traces of their influence. They are not fully reptiles, but doors. And they want the throne of the soul, the blood, the flame. Every empire, every war, every reset has been an attempt to tear away from us what makes us divine. But not all who walk among us belong to us. The Greys are what we become when we forget. The reptiles, what has always wanted us to forget. Neither leads to the source. One is sterile, the other ancient and corrupt. But the real battle is not between us and them. It is between the soul and the system. And you are proof that the flame still burns. That said, thank you and see you next time.